Developing tonight, high-pitched noises at all hours of the day at the ICE facility in South Portland. According to people who live within feet of the facility, they say demonstrators are to blame.
Okay, it's been 24 days in a row this federal building has been clashing with protesters every single day and night.
You talk to demonstrators, what did they tell you today?
Well, they tell me they aren't the ones making those high-intensity sounds, and it's actually coming from the ICE building.
Now, according to protesters, all of these loud noises and the disturbances have nothing to do with them. It's all coming from the federal building and federal agents. However, after 24 days, we are finally seeing a momentum shift. So we're going to talk about that in this video. Now, before we start the video, make sure to please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, but it also helps others see the videos as well. And the last time we talked about this situation, you guys did an awesome job, so keep it up. Here we go.
Turn it down! We the people need sleep!
Now, Portland police say they're working with the city attorney on next steps when it comes to decibel limits for the noise.
Okay, we've talked about this woman before in my last video. However, ever since this woman has confronted these protesters, now all of a sudden the city has no choice but to look into this situation. All of the fireworks, the clashes, the pepper balls, the tear gas, apparently that was not enough to get the city to investigate these loud noises. However, the city is still saying, you know what, we just want to make sure these protesters are protected though.
A spokesperson for Portland Police said in a statement, quote, "The Portland Police Bureau recognizes that noise stemming from demonstrations in the South Waterfront can be disruptive to people living and working in the neighborhood. At the same time, we are committed to protecting individuals' right to express themselves peacefully." They also say PPB is actively working with the city attorney to determine next steps.
That's right. The city is fully admitting we know this is causing a disturbance. However, we also want to make sure, you know, they have the right to protest. And I think we can all agree everyone should have the right to protest. However, after 24 days of clashes that pretty much look apocalyptic, and I hate to use this word, looking like a war zone, I think the local residents deserve some sort of investigation into this situation. Okay, according to protesters, it's not them making the loud noises, even though we can see a megaphone in the video. They are blaming the federal agents for all of the disturbances. And by the way, if you haven't already, make sure to please subscribe to my channel so I can give you guys more updates on this story and others just like it.
You talk to demonstrators, what did they tell you today?
Well, they tell me they aren't the ones making those high-intensity sounds, and it's actually coming from the ICE building. But when I go to residents, they say it is, in fact, the demonstrators. They say they hear it day and night.
6:46 in the morning.
That's where one of the residents of the buildings here identified the protesters are going in and out of this apartment right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just doing a story.
He's being evicted.
Huh?
He's being evicted.
He's being evicted?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is how bad it's getting for the protesters. They were exposed using an apartment in the area to get some food and shelter and rest to get ready for the next protest. However, airliner media was able to expose the man who was housing these protesters. Well, he's actually being evicted for doing that. On top of that, the woman who confronted the protesters, she caught protesters in her building using the laundry machines.
They're not stopping.
For weeks, we've seen people protesting ICE detention efforts at the facility with chants and spray-painted walls. Now, residents claim the protesters are using a makeshift high-intensity sound device, which can cause hearing damage.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
One resident tells me she can't take it anymore, saying she can't sleep and believes she has permanent damage from listening to this noise. She's even made a doctor's appointment after telling me her ears have started to bleed.
Now, just to show you guys, this is how the Portland police actually responds to you if you're trying to complain that your ears are bleeding, you're coughing, it's loud. This is an email from Andy NGO. He's showing us what they said to him. The Portland Police Bureau recognizes the noise stemming from demonstrations in the South Waterfront can be disruptive to people living and working in the neighborhood. Please know we take these concerns seriously. Well, if you're taking it seriously, why are you not addressing it after 24 days? Like, go to the site and actually figure it out. We are committed to protecting individuals' rights to express themselves peacefully. Our goal is to strike a balance between public safety, community well-being, and constitutional rights.
According to Portland City Code, it says a noise is considered a disturbance if it, quote, injures or endangers the safety or health of humans, or annoys or disturbs a reasonable person of normal sensitivities.
And by the way, I have that volume super low. If I was to actually show you guys what the real volume is behind that protest, you would all leave the video and you might even sue me for ear damage. That's how loud the noise really is.
And residents also tell me they're even avoiding going outside or opening and closing their windows and doors, saying things like tear gas and chemicals are also getting into their apartment due to the proximity to the ICE building.
Okay, something else we're seeing is that these federal agents know they're not going to get any help from the local police. So they have really started to up the arrest as far as going after these protesters, either for vandalizing the area, either for starting a fire on federal property. They are really starting to push back against these protesters.
You have your face, it's iconic. It's going on that site for ICE people.
Now he covers up.
People.
Fucking
yeah. We're gonna dox you. We're gonna dox you. We're gonna dox you.
And the tactics have really been on a roller coaster as far as what these protesters have been doing. Initially speaking, on day 1 through like 15, we saw some really hardcore clashes. Now, as the numbers start to diminish with these protesters, they threaten to start to leak the private information of the officers on the other side of the gate. And surrounding the facility were the faces of the federal agents and private information. Now the protesters are resulting to loud noises, but the federal agents are well aware of what's happening. These protesters, they're losing a lot of momentum. So if the federal agents can just keep it up on their end and start to press back, these protesters are running out of funds, they're running out of motivation, and I think very soon here, these protests are really going to dwindle down to nobody. And I think you'll find this interesting. Even the tactics for the federal agents have really changed. I mean, the entire Homeland Security building has been vandalized, graffitied, windows smashed, things like that. But the federal agents are now willing to arrest you for vandalizing the building. So this goes to show there's no more stacking rocks on the building. There's no more graffiti. The federal agents are noticing, hey, let's go after everyone, arrest everyone, and eventually these protesters should leave the area. Okay, so now I want to show you guys the contrast of what the federal agents are facing. Again, now they're facing loud noises, but it looks like the city has no choice but to actually confront the people with the loud noises. Look at this video right here, released by Homeland Security, their own security footage. You're not going to believe how intense it was for the federal agents initially speaking when facing these protesters. Now, I do apologize, there's no audio in this video, but the point is I want to show you guys how many protesters used to show up in front of this building. and federal agents had to really take it upon themselves to develop their own tactics to start and push back. But as you can see, again, this was happening every single day, and this was not enough for the city to say, you know what, maybe we should step in and try to calm everything down. But take a look at how fast these federal agents were able to push everyone back. Again, people are throwing back fireworks, tear gas is being deployed, pepper balls being deployed, loud noises, flashing lights. I could not imagine living in this city. And again, even the city is saying, well, you know, the decibels in the area, we have to really make sure this is truly enough to say this is a disturbance in the area. And this video right here really went viral to show everybody how the tactics have changed and developed for these federal agents. Again, federal agents are not trained in riot control. They probably know the basics, but as you can see, they are really good at their job. They were able to dismantle about 250 people, according to this report, able to dismantle this entire protest in order to get the police vehicles out of the building. And you know, on this channel, I always call it out. Every single time you get in the way of these federal vehicles, it always ends in a massive clash, and many people were also arrested in this video as well. Now, when doing research for this video, I found a clip back from 2020 that looks like we're talking about 2025. I think you'll find it rather interesting that Portland, even back in 2020, didn't necessarily know how to handle this situation. And again, this is back in 2020. You're going to think like we're talking about today.
The leaders of Portland seem to want to watch their city be destroyed, go up in flames, be defaced by graffiti. Has it occurred maybe you just kind of let Portland collapse in on itself?
Well, Tucker, I would say that, again, we have a mission in Portland. We protect almost 9,000 federal facilities across the country. That's part of the mission at the department. Portland is no different. We need to protect that seat of justice. A courthouse is where justice is served. Right. And if we let violent anarchists run that over, then I'm afraid of what that means across this country. And I'm not prepared to do that at the moment. The president's not prepared to do that. We're going to stand our ground. We're going to protect federal property. We're going to do our mission. We're going to do the mission that Congress gave us to do, and we're going to do it professionally. But again, we're not going to let individuals continue to target federal property, but most importantly, target federal law enforcement officers and other individuals that work in that courthouse that are afraid of their lives every day.
And I cover these type of protests throughout the United States on my channel. When it comes to the city of Portland, without a doubt, it looks like there's a way higher tolerance as far as allowing for protest. Again, I don't think anyone would ever deny that is a constitutional right. That is amazing. However, when it comes to these type of protests, even the federal government is questioning, okay, hold on, how much is too much? Which is why now we even have locals in the area who are putting a ton of pressure on the city to finally squash this.
Officers here. I don't know. It's according to your own military.
Okay, so that is the current situation with the federal building in Portland, facing these clashes every single night. The numbers are getting lower and lower. The encampments are being destroyed. The text messages have been leaked that the protesters don't know what to do, and a lot of people are not showing up because they don't want to get hurt, which is a good thing. Now, as far as the federal agents, they are also pushing back. They are making way more arrests. They are not as tolerant anymore. And it looks like somebody must have given an order to start and push back hard. So make sure you please subscribe to my channel so we can see how Portland reacts to all of this, because we don't know what's going to happen. Again, in my previous videos, we've exposed that the decibel levels are way too high in the area, so it's a bit odd that nobody is reporting this, but it looks like every time you report what's going on here, you get told, hey, we're looking into it. However, we want to remind everyone, you do have the right to protest. So thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. We've been covering this since day one, and this has really been quite the journey and roller coaster. But I do suspect if somebody doesn't give enough money to keep these protesters going, or the supplies don't keep coming in, I really do think these protests are going to get squashed here very soon. Thank you guys so much. God bless. We'll see you all later.